All right, welcome everybody to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting for February 4th. All council members are present. And at this time, I'll turn the time over to Vice Chair White to introduce our Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, if you want, please rise if you are able. Braden, take the stage.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, don't go so fast. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Braden, for leading us in that pledge. At this time, we'll just take a minute for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. Up first on our agenda, we have some acknowledgments, and we'll invite Lorenzo Long, the Ogden City Sustainability Coordinator, to come along. And I believe also we have Jer Bates with Ogden School District and Allie Brown from Weber State here to present on this.
All right. Thank you, Chair Ritchie, and the rest of the council for letting me have a little bit of time today. I'm here because it is Idle-Free Month in February. So that's something that the council is going to be focusing on in social media pages and things of that nature in February. So I just wanted to come and talk a little bit briefly about some of the things that the city is doing regarding air quality, which is, the primary purpose we talk about Idle-Free Month. So I attended the mayor's State of the City address last week, which was great. And during his address, he unveiled the Ogden Way, which is essentially centered around these 7 pillars of human success. And it got me thinking about how air quality is related to pretty much all of those pillars. It's either affected by or it affects those 7 pillars, especially safety, stable neighborhoods, a vibrant economy, strong infrastructure, and healthy lifestyles. So I just thought it's especially important with that in mind to talk about some of the things that we are doing as a city to address air quality. And additionally, according to the Utah DEQ, 48% of the PM 2.5 in the inversions that we experience are from basically transportation sources, our cars, trains, aircraft. So you'll notice that a lot of the things I'm going to talk about here are related to transportation. So let's see if I can, there we go, perfect. So this year, the city opened its first 4 public charging stations. Those are just a couple of pictures there from our municipal building parking lot. It's the ribbon cutting we did there, or we called it a plug-in ceremony, which was really fun. So that's been really exciting to see cars charging there. And we're also putting in a couple more at Marshall White. We're putting in 2 more there with the ability to add more as usage increases. And then we're also looking at doing some at the Wonder Block parking structure that we can see being built over there. So that's pretty exciting as well. And the reason this is important, the reason I bring this up is because electric vehicles don't produce tailpipe emissions. So the more EVs in our community, the less tailpipe emissions we will have. If an EV is idling, doesn't matter. It's fine, So that's why that's really important to mention there. Go to the next slide here. We're also doing stuff on the fleet side because, not only is it important to help the public to make that transition to electric vehicles, it's also important that we do our part as a city. So this year we got a grant, about $145,000. And with that money, we were able to purchase 3 electric vehicles for our fleet, as well as the charging infrastructure for those vehicles. So there's just a couple pictures there. It's one of the vehicles, as well as 2 of the chargers. Those ones are at our public safety building. Those just got finished being installed last week. So that's really exciting as well. The vehicles have these geotab devices in them, so we'll be able to get a bunch of quantitative data from driving them around, as well as qualitative data from the people that are driving them, and we'll use that to inform some future fleet electrification efforts to continue to reduce the emissions that we produce as a city with our own fleet, which is quite large. So that's really important as well. we have green bikes in our community. We're actually the only other city besides Salt Lake that has green bikes. So that's really exciting for us. We have 10 total stations now, having added 3 in 2024. And so we only had a 33% increase in stations, which is actually a lot, but an 83% increase in ridership from 2023 to 2024. So that is awesome. And actually, 87% of those trips were on the new e-bike versions that they've been putting out. So people really like those. And then also we added some new stations around the Ogden River Parkway Trail. And that's where 41% of all the rides took place was out there on that river trail. So people really like that area, and they really like that we put the stations there. And that's just a great way. These bikes are a great way to get people out of their cars and onto a bike, onto something that doesn't produce any emissions and helps to improve our air quality, which is really great. And so that also helps to improve our residents' physical health at the same time, which I think is important to mention. Okay, OGX, we all know it. We've all seen it. There's been a lot of fanfare, and it's been great. People love it. They always tell me, whenever someone talks to me, it's most often they're telling me they love OGX and they ride it all the time. There was almost 1 million riders in the first year of operation from August 2023 to August 2024. So that's remarkable. And I think it just shows that if you have a convenient, quick option for alternative transport, people will use it. So not only that, but these are electric buses, so they also don't produce any emissions. So that's really it. That's all I wanted to kind of talk about, but just some of the things that we are working on as a city to help our air quality and reduce our emissions to hopefully someday not to have idle-free month anymore. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thank you, Lorenzo. All right, well, welcome up Chair Bates.
Thank you, Councilmember Ritchie and the rest of the council members, Mayor Nadolski. We're very excited to talk about this every month in February, especially today where the weather was so nice. It makes it a little bit easier to turn the ignition off and just enjoy the temperatures outside. But we looked at a 4-pronged approach to the Idle-Free initiative this month. Rather than in the past simply being a vehicle of disseminating information, which we are continuing to do, of course, this month, we wanted to try to look at ways that we could actually engage people and give people actionable items that they could try to employ to make a difference. So the first is employee efforts. So we're trying to really push forward reducing idling in district-operated vehicles, as well as personal vehicles as well, encouraging our employees, when they're not in a district vehicle, to turn off the ignition, but also to tell their friends, tell their family, and tell their coworkers to try and do the same and follow that behavior. And then the last thing is working with our school bus providers, a third-party vendor called First Student, and we're really happy that they, as a global company, have really taken to heart the same kind of an initiative for clean air in reducing emissions in their buses and also enforcing a very strict anti-idling policy. I got this message today from one of our school principals, which I was really pleased to receive. He said, "I'm personally going to take the bus to work at least one day a week and reflect on that experience. I will also encourage other staff to also engage in public transportation during Idle-Free Month." So again, it's actionable items. It's people saying, hey, you know what? I can really do something to try and make a difference. And that difference might be small, but if we get a lot of people doing it, those small differences will start to add up. The next thing is parent support. So again, we talk about how every year we try and send out communication to parents to make them aware of, what they can do to make a difference. We'll be doing that through direct email campaign as well as a social media campaign. And we're trying to appeal to 2 very highly motivating factors, health and financial aspects. To give you an example, I went to the EPA's website and found a really very, very densely packed informative flyer about reasons to not idle your vehicle. This is not it. It was lots of great information. Whoever did it was really smart and really good at putting together information, not great at infographics. So instead, I spent a good chunk of the time this afternoon building something that would be a little bit more visually appealing, and then also providing that information in both English and Spanish to try to, if we can't appeal to people's hearts with, making a better environment for our kids, then we'll try to appeal to their wallets. The next initiative is trying to drive student-initiated or student-created content. We're asking our schools to participate, whether it's in STEM projects with taking measurements, studies, reporting on things like that, to more creative things like art projects, or even persuasive communication, trying to, turn that objective into an actual school related actionable item where students can themselves try to persuade others to turn the key. It's not that hard. And we may have not skipped one of the slides we were supposed to, but
I think it's
there it is. Okay. All right. And we're also asking them to, create their own content. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school lesson. Kids can be really highly influential. And so we're asking them to use, whether it's things like reports or things like their own social media, to try and convey that message. And then the last part, which we've done for a number of years, and we always get excited when our kids get to engage in this, is the city-led initiative. It's having you, our city council members, come out and visit our schools, engage with our students. You may not realize it, and you may not feel like it when you're sitting there in your suits and ties, but our kids look at you like rock stars when you show up to our schools. So it's a wonderful thing to have you show up to our schools, engage with our kids, and then share those personal messages with our parents, both through those in-person visits and then through your own social circles to try and convey that message. Again, it's a lot of little things that each of us can do. And on our own, it doesn't make a big impact, but if we can do it together, we think it really makes a big difference. So we appreciate you for leading the way every month with this cause.
Awesome. Thank you, Jer. Okay, Ali Brown from Weber State. Great.
Thank you, council members, for inviting me to speak this evening. My name is Ali Brown, and I'm the Student Zero Waste Coordinator at Weber State University. Weber State University is proud to partner with Ogden City, Weber Morgan Health Department, and Ogden School District to celebrate Idle Free Month this February. At WSU, we are strongly committed to significantly cutting our emissions and improving air quality along the Wasatch Front. Since 2007, WSU has cut its electricity consumption by 31%, natural gas consumption by 51%, and total greenhouse gas emissions by 43%, with the goal to source 100% from renewable sources by the year 2040. This past year, it's been exciting to see the continual use of the OGX on campus and throughout Ogden. Our student clubs regularly utilize it in hopes of making students more comfortable with using public transit. WSU is actively promoting the use of this alternative transportation method so that we can collectively reduce our carbon footprint. Thank you again for letting me share our progress with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ali. All right. I think that's awesome. I appreciate those presentations. I mean, geographically, we live in an area where we're going to have those inversions. So anything, like Jer was saying, the collective effort, we can make a difference. So if we any other comments from council members on that? Or all right. I'm just going to ask for a round of applause for these presenters on this item. Thank you. Okay, up next, we're going to invite Chief Matthew to come forward to start this next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Council Chair and Council members, for having us here. This is a great event. I think Jeff is somewhere around. If he would be so inclined, Jeff Wilson, and then also Jeff Como. Jeff Wilson is the recipient of some fantastic heroic efforts on the part of some community members and friends of his. Last November, Jeff was playing basketball with his colleagues and friends, and he made some comment about, let's go because we got to win this last game. And there's some other elements he shared with me too about this story that was very interesting. But
let's win the last game or I'll have a heart attack tonight.
Yeah, that's what he said. So he He's an honest guy.
I'm a prophet.
Yeah, he's an honest guy. So unfortunately, he collapsed underneath the basket, and they just thought maybe he had injured himself, twisted an ankle, whatever. But then they quickly noticed he wasn't moving and thought something's really, really wrong here. They jumped into action. There's a group of them that I won't go through what you're going to read in a moment, but a group of them did everything right between recognizing that he needed CPR and starting CPR, calling 911, and fortunately having the 911 dispatcher call taker be the son of one of the people involved in this event and intimately knew the layout of Ogden High School that helped guided our personnel in. And then one individual knowing exactly where the automatic external defibrillator was located and retrieving that and bringing it to his side. And if you listen to the 911 tape, things were going so fast with these Good Samaritans that as the dispatcher was trying to walk them through it, it was already occurring. They knew exactly what needed to be done. The AED analyzed his heart rhythm. He was in ventricular fibrillation, and I can tell you that this is one guy in this room that was momentarily on the other side. He was clinically dead. Wasn't biologically dead, clinically dead. So he paid a visit to the other side. Thankfully, because of his friends and the people that knew exactly what to do and the people that trained them in what to do, they deployed the AED. It recognized his heart needed to be defibrillated. It immediately defibrillated him. By the time our personnel showed up, the paramedics and the firefighters showed up, he was starting to become awake and starting to become reoriented. By the time I think we left the scene, he knew his name, knew his age. Some of this was coming back to him. Jeff is 47 years old. I would estimate maybe he's in the second quarter. He's still got a long ways to go.
48 last week.
Well, okay, maybe he's looking at the third quarter, but who knows? But one of the things I want to mention about this, not only were these people just local, great, Good Samaritan, heroic efforts, and they need to be recognized, but also the importance of we want to save more lives in the future. We've got a couple of things that are going on in our community we want to make sure people are aware of. If you know CPR, you can register with the Ogden Fire Department on an app, and this app, fortunately, has been paid for the last 2 years through the help of our 2 local hospitals, an individual from Murphy Door, the owner of Murphy Door, an Ogden businessman that believes in this program, and Weber State University. So this program costs money every single year to have, but it's an app that we can register people that know how to perform CPR so that when we get a call into the 911 center and it's entered into the system that a cardiac arrest is occurring, that the person that's been validated on this app gets an immediate page notification on their phone if they're within a quarter mile of where the cardiac arrest is occurring. That means that they can go over there and render aid and start CPR if they don't have friends of basketball players that know how to perform CPR. And so we want to promote this program. There's also an element of trying to put AEDs, and the AED stands for Automatic External Defibrillator, in all types of public locations. Last week, Sandy City Council honored some folks for doing the similar thing on a pickleball court. And the individual that was resuscitated was standing there breathing and talking as well. And so we want to do more and more of this so we can save more and more lives. This is one of our pillars within the fire department that we measure, recognize, which is called our resuscitation rate or return of spontaneous circulation, which, as you can see, it returned for Jeff. And so we want to do more of it. We want to promote it more. We love to see AEDs in police vehicles because they can get there quicker than we can. We want to see them in all kinds of public places where there's gathering of people so we can make sure an AED is readily available to anybody in the area that knows how to use it. So with that, I would like to take a minute and introduce Jeff Como. He's Ogden Regional Representative. He wants to also say a few things because once we transported this patient to the hospital, there was a team of people in the ER, then in the cath lab, then the cardiologist. The coronary artery that was almost completely occluded in Jeff's heart is the left anterior descending artery. And in the location where the occlusion occurred, they commonly refer it to as the widowmaker. Do I need to say any more? So, very fortunate to have great friends that knew what to do when they needed to do it. Very fortunate to still be with us today. And so I'd like to turn time over to Jeff to let him say a few words about some people he'd like to recognize.
Mayor, Council, citizens of Ogden, thanks for letting us come out today. I think this is the second time I've been here doing one of these. We did one maybe a couple years ago. It was almost that long ago. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's fun to be here representing Ogden Regional Medical Center. I have a few people with me. This is Jake. He's our Chief Operating Officer at Ogden Regional. I got Cassie. She's our ED Director of Ogden Regional Medical Center. And then Blake back there. He's one of our charge nurses in the ED that was on this case when Jeff arrived to our hospital. And then Chad Wilson is our emergency manager and kind of EMS liaison at our hospital as well. So we appreciate you kind of letting us be here. The reason why we wanted to come here was try to support exactly what Ogden City's doing. The Pulse Point, the stuff that the fire department's done, Ogden City has kind of led the way in the county on kind of what we're seeing for survivability. We work very well, very, very closely together to make sure that patients receive great care when they arrive through our system, but it's a whole system that makes this happen. So we're just strong advocates for bystander community CPR, making sure the community is aware of how that works, AED use, and having really quick response to being able to access AEDs in the community. They make a difference. They absolutely save lives. So when they get to us, it kind of makes the job a little bit easier for us on the other side. So just representing Ogden Regional, we're excited to be here. We just really wanted to be part of this and just really kind of let you guys know how much we appreciate everything that's going on in the community. We'd love to be community partners with what's going on and work together as teams with our EMS partners in all different aspects of the community to make sure we have good outcomes for our patients. So we're excited Jeff is with us, and we have some awards to give out. I'm not exactly sure how you want to do that. We have what's called our Life Save Awards that we give out for these incidences. We want to recognize first the bystanders that made a difference and the responders that responded on this call, as well as a few of our representatives from the hospital as well. So I'm happy to do that.
Let's
I know.
go ahead and take care of that right now.
You want us to do that now?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Does that work for you? Okay. So what we typically do is we have Life Save Awards. We like to recognize, let's do bystanders first. I'm going to switch these out. 7. So we have our Life Save Awards that we give out that just are like this. They're just a Life Save Award that's presented, has the date, and then we also have our challenge coins, our community hero coins that kind of go along with this. So the first one is the bystander is Rob. I don't want to mess up your last name. Matastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Let's pull Chief, do you mind maybe, do you want any of your staff to come up while we hand these out? Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate it. Yeah, whatever is a good flow. We can flow this way if you want to.
Andy's not here.
Andy's not here?
Andy Blodgett's not here.
All right. We want to recognize Andy Blodgett. He's not here, but we'll make sure he receives this. He's the AED guy. Perfect.
Coach
I love it. I love it. Hunter Clark.
The hero.
I love it. All right.
Didn't break my ribs. Was he on your team or playing against?
I was with him.
So they were winning, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Where are we up? I don't know. I can't remember.
21-18. They're up. Natalie's here.
Natalie Day. Hi.
Natalie did a lot of training, right?
Yeah.
She's the AED gal.
Thank you for that.
She was also on my team.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Kent Taylor. Very much. Chris Reed. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
GB Birmingham. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That one's Blake's. That's all that. And then it's just Blake Nelson with Ogden Regional. Recognize Blake. Thanks, Blake. Nurse in charge. Thanks. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. And then we have the responders. And Chief, I don't think everybody is here, but I'll read their names, and whoever not here, we'll just make sure that I give them to you. So they got Ogden City firefighter Dustin Mayhew. Captain. Come on up.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
These guys.
I don't think Jason Thompson's here, right? I don't think he's here. Okay. We'll make sure. Stephen Chapman. I don't think he's here either. I don't think the rest of these guys are here. Brian Scott, I didn't see him. I don't think, Brian Scott, I don't think he's here either. Sean Buzzboom, I didn't see him either. Okay, we'll make sure you guys see these guys. Derek Daggs, nope. And the last one that we wanted to recognize from Ogden City Fire Department was Shane Arasati. So, Chief, we'll make sure we get these to you and make sure they get to your crews. Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. Very, very understandable. Again, on behalf of Ogden Region, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate all the work Ogden Fire's done. We'd like to recognize them for all the hard work. More importantly, obviously the first responder bystanders that jumped in and saved a life that day. So without them doing that strong work, and really, that's a scary thing when you're really not trained. You don't see that stuff on a daily basis. It's kind of overwhelming. So we really appreciate you jumping in and, you know, saving a life that day. We just wanted to recognize that from Ogden Regional Medical Center. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Council.
Thank you. So if we can just have you all hang tight where you are, and then we're going to have Councilmember Blair. Well, why don't we have Councilmember Blair read the recognition from the council,
Everybody.
and then we'll get a picture with everybody.
I think that's great.
Okay.
We ready?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, we're going to get a picture. Yeah. Get Jeff in here.
We're good to go. I'd like to thank Chief Matthew for taking a couple minutes. We have a plaque here for, I guess they're being labeled as the bystanders or the heroes, but space on the plaque is limited, and what Chief Matthew wrote in the transmittal to us was over 2.5 pages long, talking about the event and everything that happened. So I'm glad that he took some time to kind of explain to everyone what really happened. It's an honor for me. When I was younger, I used to think the most important thing was being able to make a free throw so I could play basketball and get put on a team. But it's hopefully now, after tonight's events, people will realize there's more important things and more important skills than just being able to make a free throw. The recognition reads, the Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize Hunter Clark, Andy Blodgett, Rob Matasic, G.B. Birmingham, Chris Reed, Kent Taylor, and Natalie Day for providing extraordinary life-saving efforts in an emergency. On Thanksgiving morning, November 28, 2024, a life-threatening emergency occurred during a pickup basketball game when Jeff Wilson, a then 47-year-old resident, collapsed from a heart attack. Medical professionals later diagnosed Jeff with a near-fatal myocardial infarction caused by a critical blockage in a major coronary artery. His chances of survival were initially estimated as low as 10%. Thanks to the quick thinking and extraordinary efforts of his friends and fellow community members, Jeff's life was saved against overwhelming odds. These individuals immediately sprang into action, performing CPR, using an automated external defibrillator, or AED, and carefully positioning Jeff's head to aid resuscitation efforts. Jeff was transported to Ogden Regional Medical Center, where he received critical care and made a remarkable recovery. We commend these individuals for their courage, initiative, and life-saving actions. Their preparation and recent CPR and AED recertification demonstrate the profound importance of being ready for emergencies and the impact that swift, prepared action can have on saving lives. And we've got some plaques here. I'm assuming Jeff gets one too. I know we've got one for Hunter Clark, Andy Blodgett,
Rob Matasic, GB Birmingham, Chris Reed, Kent Taylor, and Natalie Day. And if there's one extra, we'll give one to Jeff. Thank you. Here's this. Yeah. And then she's got something for you. Those from the fire department. Good to see you again. Yeah. Great job. Thank you.
Good job.
So talented. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Hey, good to see you.
Thanks. Get a group
Always a
picture,
pleasure.
just all you guys.
Yeah. We got one extra.
Good to see you. It's been a little while. Good work.
Yeah. There's that.
Chad? Not much. How about you, Nat? I visited with your folks the other day. I visited with your folks for a while the other day. When markers were leaving, you know. Good to see you, though.
Am I going?
So we crowding over, we're doing it here. I think we center it right here. Okay.
Blake, move it in.
I gotta tell you, the mayor announced his Ogden Way, and this is a perfect example of people helping people, making this community successful. Tribute to all of you. I have the pleasure of knowing you and appreciate you.
Here, here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Guess that's you got it.
Hey, Jeff.
No, up at the.
We'll ask Jeff if he'd like to just share some words. Thank you.
So I know I promised my family dinner after, and they're looking at their watches, but we'll be brief and we'll empty half this room. But when they tell you your chances of survival are 10 or 12%, and when I got to the hospital, the cardiologist just looked at me and shook his head and goes, "You're lucky." And he goes, "As soon as you hit the ground, not good." He was from India, so he said, "Not good." But I don't think it's luck. I'm blessed. And for me, luck is, I've always been taught, is when preparation and opportunity meet. And I really think that's what happened in this instance is good men who weren't afraid to jump in, and whether they remember how to do CPR or just got trained in the AED, it all small little miracles that played into one big miracle. And I am greatly appreciative for that. As I look around, it's, family, obviously lots of friends, faith, and now I can say first responders. And I'm grateful for them, grateful for my wife and family, grateful for Ogden Regional Medical Center, amazing. I'll just say my wife works for a competitor, but she was amazed, and we were amazed at our cardiologists, the nursing staff, everyone in that facility was amazing. And I'm now 2 months into cardiac rehab in their cardiac wellness center. And if you ever want to get hooked up and look like a hamster on a wheel, that's kind of what you look like for an hour for 36 visits. I'm on 21. But the techs there are amazing, and they give you that confidence to get back on your feet and get going. I ran 4 miles on Gibbs Loop and above Weber State this morning. So you might consider yourself healthy, but you never know. And I'm a testament to that, where I ran and thought I was healthy, and sometimes genetics get you, and that's what the cardiologist told me. But if I can ever help with anything, AEDs, like the fire chief just said, Mike, if there's anything that we can do in public places, churches, anywhere, schools, I know that was one thing that just saved my life. And I'm grateful for the training. Don't take any training, CE credits, training. It's all worthwhile. Sometimes we shake our heads at that and we don't even pay attention. Andy Blodgett, who's not here, said it's the first time they actually got the defibrillator out. I think it was like 2 weeks before. He's like, "Oh, this is stupid. They got like a dummy or something." And they had to actually do it. And as soon as I went down, he said the first thing, he was just pulled towards the AED and said, go get it. And that saved my life. And I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you, council. Thank you to all my friends. Thank you to all those who saved me. It's not about me, although it's wonderful guys and friends that are not afraid to jump in. And I was grateful to have my son playing with me, although he got to witness all that, and it's a little scary to see men that aren't afraid to jump into action. And I'm always going to be grateful for that. And that's a huge lesson for various boys that were there playing with these old guys trying to keep up with them. So thank you.
All right. Well, you're welcome to go to dinner or hang out with us for the next however knows however long. Any other comments from council members or?
Yeah, I've got one. I've got a question. Where can we go for first aid, CPR, and AED training and be certified?
I have to get
the chief is gone and Mike
Hey,
Slater is gone.
Kenny,
Here we got somebody.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, Kenny.
I didn't get out of the room fast enough. The Ogden City Fire Department holds usually a monthly meeting for CPR for all community members, I believe. Anybody has any information or wants any information on that, they can just call the non-emergency line for Ogden City Fire Department. We can get them hooked up. But because we're pushing this Pulse Point program throughout the city, we're trying to offer these CPR classes so we can get the community certified in CPR. So if it does happen, they'll know what to do. They can be able to jump into action.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ogden City Fire Department.
Yes, it does. When you do CPR, it teaches you both for the AED, just because they kind of go hand in hand. Effective CPR does help, but early defibrillation is the key to survival in these type of events.
Good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. And with that segue, they don't teach CPR at the Citizens Police Academy, but you can learn where you can get more information about that. And so we'll bring up Diana Lopez to talk about the Citizens Police Academy.
Mr. Chair, can I just add to before she comes up?
Oh, yes.
If you ask Archie, where can I get CPR training? Archie responds, we offer CPR classes through our fire department for groups of 5 or more students. Classes are priced at $50 per student. Training, $35 per student for healthcare provider, et cetera, et cetera. There's dates, how to register, a link for where to go for more information.
All right. For those listening, Archie is the AI help desk on our website. So there we go. Okay. Welcome up, Diana.
Man, that's going to be a tough act to follow. Thank you for
You've got the stuff.
Man, song and dance too. Thank you guys for having me today. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with the Citizens Police Academy. Several of you guys have actually completed the Citizens Police Academy. Most recently, our Chair Richie. He may or may not make a surprise appearance in my PowerPoint. But we realized we hadn't officially come and showed you guys exactly what we're doing in the Citizens Police Academy. So we decided to hit all the city councils. I hit the county commissioners yesterday. Obviously, this is my favorite one to come present at. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about why. And I don't think. Okay. What is the CPA, Citizens Police Academy? In a nutshell, it's a 7-week program, 1 evening a week. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. We do include one full day Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. typically. We do it twice a year, spring session and a fall session. Our spring session is getting ready to start up on Thursday, the 6th. Thursday, March 6th is when we're starting. I wanted to include all the agencies that make this possible. This is a 100% free program to anybody 18 years and older in the community. So I wanted to definitely give a shout out to Ogden Police. I work for Ogden Police, the community outreach coordinator. We've also hired someone part-time, Lori Frazier. She can't be here. She's living her best life on a cruise right now. But she definitely helps me make this whole thing possible. Lori's in this picture up here. We were on the Weber Connections magazine a couple of years ago. And this is one of the ones we took all the pictures actually at the Ogden Police Department. So this is one of the pictures that was on the front cover of one of those magazines. So we have Ogden Police Department, Weber County Sheriff's Office, who helps us do this as well, including the jail, North Ogden Police Department, Roy Police Department, Riverdale Police Department, Weber State Police Department, our dispatch center, our great firefighters that are all going off to dinner now, CSI, we also have our SWAT team, our gang unit, and our strike force who participate in this 7-week program. This is a picture of our last participants. As you can see, it's quite a diverse group. It's a really fun group. I thought it was a super fun group. I say that about every group because every group is just so really, really great. The only requirement really is that they need to be 18 years old or pass a background check. So with all those agencies that participate, we have a little committee that we come together with the names of all the participants and their backgrounds. And if there's any concerns about any of them for whatever reason, then we discuss it. We haven't denied anybody yet. We just want to make sure that people are there for non-nefarious reasons. We want to make sure that people who are coming to the Citizens Academy really just want to learn. Some data. Here's our chair.
There we are. I just got kicked in the gut right
yes,
there.
you just gotten kicked by our participant, Jesse, there. This was our defensive tactics night. We've switched it up a little bit. We started the Citizens Academy in spring of 2017. We have successfully completed 13 Citizen Police Academies. Almost 200 participants have gone through this course. And when you talk about who's gone through it, here is a short list of just some of the ones that I thought may stand out. We've had 3 city mayors, 21 city council members, 12 clergy members, 6 community advocates, 12 teachers and school personnel, but we've also had all walks of life. City employees, HR, students. Weber State is a phenomenal partner in this, and Weber State will regularly send some of the students from the criminal justice program or social work program or just several of their programs. They regularly send them to the Citizens Academy so they can learn more about the field. And our dispatchers, just to name a few. One of the reasons that we definitely want to include our dispatchers, we usually save a couple spots for them every go around. One of the things that we don't kind of process sometimes is that our dispatchers take every single call. That's 99% of the time how we get somewhere. But that's the extent of their involvement. They don't always get to see what the outcome of some of these calls are. They don't always get to see what everyone else is doing. And by including dispatchers, keeping a couple of slots open for them every go around, they've been really appreciative that they can see the whole process and they can actually see what's going on, what the officers are doing, what the firefighters are doing, what CSI is doing. And it's helped them kind of learn a little bit more about just the whole process that we're going along. I'm going to talk a little bit before I get into the slide, how we have this whole thing laid out. So the way that we like to do it is our first night is getting into the mindset of law enforcement. We have one of our Ogden police sergeants or lieutenants come and do a presentation for everybody and helps everybody get a little bit more into the mindset of law enforcement, the hows and the whys and how they think a little bit more. I highlighted former Lieutenant Cottrell on this slide because he was the one who actually originally in 2017 came up with this first presentation. And he actually ended up covering for us this last go around. He was able to come out and hang out with us for a little bit. Once we get into the mindset of law enforcement, we start with our dispatch center. So we have the academy laid out. A call comes into dispatch. Now what? So week 1, get into the mindset and dispatch. Week 2, we start going into TASER, defensive tactics. We go out to Riverdale Police Department, and they go over traffic stops, felony stops, DUIs. The participants actually have the opportunity to drive the police cars and do simulated traffic stops in the back area of Riverdale Police Department. We go with Weber County to the jail. This is a picture of one of the jail when we were getting ready to go in, and the participants got to see a little bit more of how the jail functions. They actually went in how the inmates go in. We went in through the big double doors. We went in through the booking center, and then we got to see the TOG team that is out at the jail, who is basically their version of SWAT inside the jail. all of this is free. We set this up this whole way. There's a lot of thought behind everything. We try to do half of the classes instructional, half of the classes hands-on. If you're comfortable doing hands-on, you can do hands-on learning. If you just want to sit back and watch, you'll still learn from all the other participants. The picture that we had previously of Chair Ritchie was defensive tactics, and they were learning how to kick somebody away from them. You don't have to beat somebody. You just have to get away and run away. So it's been a really fun and amazing experience. I've been to every single one, well, with the exception of when I delivered my twins. I've been to every single one, and I still learn something new every single time that I do this. One of the reasons why we think it's important, it helps build these community relationships. It is a really great way to clear up a lot of the misinformation that we've realized is really what comes right back down to it. Is most of the time, 90% of the time, when people have a complaint against law enforcement or some of our first responders, it's misinformation. People have a perception of what they think is happening. And when they're coming through this class, they're able to realize the hows and the whys of how things happen. One of the fabulous things that's come out of this too is that we've also learned how we can improve some of our policies and our processes and our procedures. The biggest one that I like to give credit to, and I believe it was Councilwoman Taberka's class when she did it, was we didn't realize that when you call dispatch, usually someone answers. There are the few times that you call and all the operators are busy. And then you get a message saying something to the effect of, all the operators are busy, we'll get to you as soon as we can. We hadn't processed that message is not in Spanish. We have a very large Hispanic population, as you all know. So we were able to make that adjustment. Dispatch took the feedback and was able to make that change. So now we have it in English and in Spanish. So that's a really great example of how this is also helping us be better. One of the things that I also love about it, that was an unintended consequence, I guess not consequence, one unintended fruit of this labor is that our officers also have a really fun time. Our officers get to let their guards down for a little bit and realize that the people that are there want to be there, and that the people that are there have a genuine interest in learning more about law enforcement. And they're able to just kind of let their guard down for a little bit and interact and have fun. One of the comments that I got from one of the officers, he was like, and this was just a recent conversation that we'd had. He came into my office and said, I really thought that the community didn't like me from all my time in a specific unit that he was working. He's like, I really thought that they didn't like me. And thanks for giving me this opportunity, because it was amazing to just interact with people who had a genuine interest and made me feel like a person and not an officer, not just a uniform. So things like that is stuff that we didn't necessarily think about when we were putting together this academy, but it's a really great way to also give back a little bit to our officers too. They end up having a really good time. This program also helps build some confidence in our law enforcement, because it's understanding more of what is happening. And then the big thing is we want people to know that their decisions actually affect a person. It's not just an organization. Their decisions actually affect a person. So these are just some of the reasons why we think this is such a great program and why it's important to continue. Now, because I am a visual person, I assume all people are visual learners. So I have a little video that I like you guys to watch. And you guys can get a better idea of how this whole madness comes to be.
What stood out for me is definitely the different perspective that you get to see in regards to the eyes of a law enforcement. So it's been a great training from the beginning to the end. You see everything that law enforcement has to train for, and the stressful situations that they have to go into. So definitely being able to see that has been eye-opening for me.
When and you're sitting on the sideline thinking about it. You're like, oh, this is easy, I can do this. But then when you actually get put in the situation, your mind kind of goes blank. You kind of don't have any idea what to do. It puts into perspective how much training the first responders go through to perform under those situations.
Scary situations. A lot of them a normal citizen, everyday life wouldn't be able to handle without all of these techniques, tactics, and skills. It definitely does bring a lot of perspective into maybe tearing down some of those stereotypes and myths that you hear about their duties and responsibilities.
All the million things that are going on behind you, like when we did the sim round things, same thing, you go in there and you're thinking, oh, this will be easy, just gotta look for a guy hiding, but you don't realize that there's ledges above doors, and that you just, there's so much more to everything here, even like the simple pullovers that we did, and it just gives you a whole lot more respect for these guys and what they do, and it's awesome to see what they do.
It's been really interesting getting a perspective from inside to know what officers think, what the interaction with the community is, and how we can both benefit and be helpful to our community. So I think it's been a great experience.
So it is high intensity. It can be high intensity. Don't worry, Gary, we have a lot of waivers signed. Everything's on the up and up. And like I said, we encourage everybody to try everything, because how often are you going to be able to get into a canine bite suit in a controlled environment, or, shoot sim rounds, or, now we've included our virtual simulator in this as well. So it has just been a fantastic program that I have loved being a part of, and I'm super grateful that you guys have continued to support it. Super grateful that 4 chiefs in now, all the chiefs have continued to support it, and all the other agencies have continued to support it, because it's not a small feat to be able to let everybody do this for free. And that is our goal, is to continue to do this for free, to continue to raise awareness. Do you guys have any questions?
Are there still spots? Can people still sign up?
Yes, we do still have spots for the March 6th. If anybody wants an application, they are welcome to send me an email or give me a call, and I can go ahead and get the application over to them. We'll give them an agenda. We'll give any of you guys an agenda. If any of you guys who haven't done it want to do it, we'll give you an agenda with all the dates and what topics we're doing on what dates. And then we'll start on March 6th.
Perfect. Thank you, Diana. That's time well spent. And, it's 7 weeks and a Saturday, but I would give you some advice. If you go on the Saturday for the simunitions, don't wear a bright orange sweater. Maybe wear something a little darker.
I decided to be nice and not use the video from the very, very last time. So,
all righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. We up next, we have approval of minutes. So we'll go first, work session of December 17th, 2024. Councilmember Blair.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ritchie. I have reviewed those minutes and found them to be accurate.
From December 17th, 2024, the regular meeting, Councilmember Chaburka.
Yes, Chair, those are correct.
From the work session of January 7th, 2025, Councilmember Graff.
Yeah, I've reviewed them, and they're correct to the best of my recollection.
And the regular meeting of January 7th, 2025, Councilmember Heyer.
Chair, they appear to be correct, and I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as listed in the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Blair. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. All righty. Okay. Up next, we have our public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 budget and staffing document amendments. And we'll invite Justin Sorensen, our finance director, to come up and present on this item.
Mr. Chair, do you mind if I introduce it for a minute?
Yes,
and
please.
then defer to Justin? So the first time I met with you and we talked about this, we hadn't had the State of the City event, and we hadn't unveiled the framework for the Ogden Way. But now that we can speak in some more specificity as to how these positions are going to fit within that framework. In all candor, for the better part of the first 6 months of the job, I felt like the administration was in many ways happening to me. And a lot of that was a lot of organizational inertia, a lot of projects that had already been started and needed to be brought to completion, et cetera. But since that time, we have really worked on internal coordination and collaboration, making sure that we are aligned across departments toward the similar vision and direction. And we've done an internal strategic planning process that is mostly complete, but still has some more steps to go, primarily in the down and in. Remember how I talked about I need to lead in two different ways. I need to lead down and in amongst the 700 employees, and I need to lead up and out amongst the 90,000 people, as well as outward employees and other elected officials, both at the county, neighboring cities, at the state and congressional level, to bring resources to the employees that can be delivered to the 90,000 people. And so now that we've unveiled the Ogden Way framework, we feel really good about a lot of the alignment we've done internally across departments. And we're finding that there's a lot of opportunity for really high-level executive leadership and innovation and efficiencies achieved through innovation. But we're trying to flip the paradigm in the script from being kind of a led from the bottom up or setting priorities from the bottom up, and we want to set priorities, set vision, and set direction from the top down, while allowing and setting a tone for collaboration top to bottom, bottom to top. And so these positions are a request to help really force multiply our leadership on the 9th floor, where in the past it has really felt like we are scrambling to keep up with the rest of the organization, frankly, and that a lot of the efficiencies and inefficiencies are stopping at us because there's only us. And there are 700 people relying on us to move things through. And so this is a request that's budget neutral in the current cycle and intended to be budget neutral in the next, so that we can drive executive level leadership from the top, that we can set direction, set priorities, achieve and maintain organizational alignment across departments, and then making sure that all of those organizations or departments are all driving in the same direction toward the same goals. And that has been really, really hard to do. And I have watched Mara struggle to keep up far too many times, not because she isn't trying, but because There's literally only 24 hours in a day, and the woman deserves some sleep. But the way that it's intended to work is that one position kind of manages me as I do a lot of the external leadership, finding alignment in external partners, and achieving efficiencies, including cost savings through and with others. There are services that we provide that others, nonprofits, can also provide. And I think there's real opportunities for a ton of efficiencies and force multiplying through community partners. I can't do that work out there by myself. I need some help. And so I need one position to help manage me, so to speak. But I need, Mara needs and deserves a lot of some support to make sure that in her executive leadership as CAO, to have a deputy that's helping her drive innovation and drive efficiencies and drive leadership internally, to make sure that the internal team, aligned by a mission that we unveiled in the Ogden Way, fits within the context of the vision that delivers on the needs of the 90,000 people. So that's how it's structured with more specificity now that we've had our State of the City event and unveiled that framework. So, and I'll defer to Justin on the fiscal details.
Part of that. Thanks for that introduction.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. So the budget action before you. So there's two pieces to this to this ordinance. One is to amend the budget. The second one is to amend the staffing document, as this would increase the number of positions in the staffing document by 2. So the overall impact of the budget, most times when we bring a budget action before you, we're either proposing to increase or decrease the budget. This one is a net increase of 0. It is moving budgets between departments within the general fund to be able to fund these 2 positions for the rest of the fiscal year. The way that we calculated those amounts out, obviously it's February now, but when we first put this budget opening together, we were anticipating approximately 7 months worth of wages. And so based on that and what the grade of those positions were, that's how we came up with the figure of the $241,000. And then to fund it, we went through and identified positions that were open at the time. So up through last fall, that had not been filled. And those positions are budgeted positions. And so we took a few of those payrolls that would have been used for those positions, and we're proposing to reallocate those to the mayors to be able to cover these costs for the rest of the year. So it's not taking away from those positions right now, because at the time they weren't filled. And so at the end of the year, those budgets would have been unspent and would have gone into the pool of excess of funds not used in wages. To make this pencil, to make it balance, we did need to adjust some other line items. As you can see in management services, we're proposing to reduce down the professional technical budgets of the admin, the administrative budget in management services, the justice court, the comptroller, and fiscal operations by a combined total of $55,000. We're also proposing to reduce down the general fund expense contingency by $14,300. And then the rest of the items, as you can see, are from CED and public services to help. Those were the positions where we looked at what positions were open to help with funding this. So the overall impact to the general fund is 0. So it's just moving, again, budget between departments. You're okay. And so and then the change in the staffing document would be to increase the number of positions in the mayor's office by 2, adding the deputy CAO, which would be at a grade 190, and then the chief executive assistant, which would be a grade 180. And then as far as next year's budget, as the mayor mentioned, the goal is to make this budget neutral. Each year when we go through our budgeting process, we always start with a flat budget. But when it comes to wages and benefits, we will look at who is in the positions currently and project out a flat projection based on that. And there's usually an attrition number that we experience, and this happens every year due to turnover, retirements, changes in benefits. And that amount of money usually will help with as we go through the balancing process. And so as part of our balancing, if these 2 positions are added, those will be part of the balancing process. And that attrition number that we usually experience will help to fund these 2 positions next year to not create an extra expense from what is budgeted this year, but it would be included in the budget next year. So if that makes sense. So the proposal would be to consider the ordinance, which would amend the budget by transferring budgets between departments, and then also to update the staffing document to add these 2 positions. Are there any questions?
And before we go to public comment, is there any questions from the council? Or
So I just have a comment, and I think one of the things that we've talked about previously is that what we had kind of more of a, I'll just say, a gentleman's agreement of using vacancies and attrition to help fund and support ongoing increases within our next year's budget and next year's budget for wages. And so I can appreciate what you're saying. I just am worried as we go forward that we're going to eat up that by adding new staffing. And so I'm throwing that out as more of a comment. I'm not sure there's a question in there, just more of a comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Justin. So this is a public hearing. If you'd like to address the council on this item, please step to the podium and state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you're online, you can go ahead and raise your hand, or *6 or *9. One of those will get your hand up if you're on the phone.
Good evening. My name's Teresa Bramwell. I just have a question because I noticed in the breakdown of where the money is coming from for these new positions that the 2 largest line items were the Economic Development Department, which was about $80,000, and the Building Services Department, which was about $40,000. So those monies would be coming from those departments to fund the new positions in the mayor's office. So I'm just curious if there have been positions that were eliminated in the Economic Development and the Building Services Departments, or why there would be $120,000 just sitting there in those departments not being used. I don't care about that because I think those are 2 very useless departments in the city that have been almost complete failures. So I'm not concerned about those going away. I'm just wondering if they already have gone away. And so that's why there's $120,000 that's not being used in those departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Hi, Travis Pate. I think the dynamic that I saw is that sometimes there's just budget openings and things, and I think there's the possibility before you say, no, hey, this is not what we're doing, even though there possibly could just be a sunset clause that say, okay, every 6 years, so it overlaps mayoral elections or those types of things, so it's not just necessarily always a political push. It can be an overlap and a sunset clause that says, yes, we're doing this, but there's a sunset clause, kind of like how the Treasury overlaps and it doesn't align with presidential elections, some of those types of things. There's always the appointments that could possibly overlap, just like when the council, when it became a strong mayor form of government. Here's the first time that the mayor's saying, hey, here's some structural things. And a past mayor had asked for different things and had a deputy mayor position, and it was a political appointment for other reasons. And then that kind of ended up being a farce. It didn't really work at all for the city, nor what was intended. So I think, to me, if you're thinking to say no, I would say no, say yes, because I've watched the individuals, I've seen this city, especially the association that we've had with other municipalities, and now even particularly now with the county, that we're saying we want to move forward, we want this strong thing. And so I would say 100% yes for the vote. But if there's a concern, then it's just can be rectified with a sunset clause that overlaps 2 years into the next administration, whether it be the mayor-elect or a renewal, but it just still allows the overlap and transition for the government to move forward as a strong mayor form of government. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Any other comments? If not, I would take a motion on the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing on this item.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember White to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. So again, going bottom up on the sunset clause, so the staffing document is a budgetary, every year when we adopt the budget, we adopt the staffing document. And so in essence, every position has that potential of having making a change. The council could make a change to the staffing document. So I think that's a good point to consider, that, just because a position's added, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to go on in perpetuity, that the council has the option every year to review that staffing document and make those determinations. So as far as the funding and whether there's potentially eliminated positions, and Justin, you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this. From what I understand, those are positions that are currently unfilled, and they're not necessarily eliminated, they just haven't been filled, and so those funds are being used to transfer into this position.
Correct. Yeah, so with the staffing document, as you mentioned, it is a budgetary, for every position that is in the staffing document, we budget for them. And so obviously if there are openings during the year, there's no expense to go against what's been budgeted for those positions. And so for these couple positions that seem like they're higher dollar amounts, we looked at approximately 6 pay periods worth of wages that we'd budgeted for those positions out of those two groups. The other groups under public services, they were smaller because just based on the amounts that we needed, we took not as many pay periods to cover that we were adjusting for. So it's not removing any positions. It was just reallocating position or budgets from positions that had not been filled at that time.
And so it's safe to say in each of those departments that the unused salaries are probably higher than what we're pulling from each of those departments, just
Correct.
Based on attrition or whatever the reasons would be.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Justin, before you go, can you, classification, let me see if I can find the word I'm looking for.
Pay grade?
Pay grade. Where are we, where did we?
So the deputy to the CAO would be a grade 1, if I can read mine, 190. And then the other position for the mayor would be a grade 180. So originally it was proposed of them both being 190s. But
Because in the proposal they both say 190.
yeah, so we adjusted the 1 to 180 based on feedback we received.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate the dialogue that we had with with the administration and with the mayor on these positions and trying to understand. And certainly, the more we've had an opportunity to talk about it and hearing the mayor's presentation last week, it just kind of, I leaned over to Marcia, Vice Chair White, and I said, the mayor's doing a better job, or has gotten better at explaining what he's doing here. And like the first time, it's just a little bit different, and we took a little bit. But anyway, I appreciate your explanation, Mayor Nadolski, on the setup there, and then, I believe that these positions can help the city move forward in the direction that you're trying to direct us. So that's my thoughts. I don't know if any other council members have any feedback or thoughts before we go to a motion.
I wouldn't mind making a comment. Yeah, I really appreciated the conversation that we had in joint leadership about the positions, and I really admire the effort that the administration has made to really be in the community in a little bit of a different way, than past administrations, and building those relationships. So I appreciate it.
Chair, I'd also like to chime in a little bit. Each executive probably functions a little differently. I mean, they'll approach their job in a different way, and I think it's entirely appropriate that as we got a new mayor a year ago, took him a minute to find his feed and discover what was really going on and how he could best be effective in his role. I think it's an appropriate request on their part, and I'd also appreciate the back and forth and the compromise that was made, and I think it really makes the city better because of it. So, and if you're ready for a motion, I'm ready to make one.
If there's no other comments,
Just a really quick comment, and I want to also thank the administrative staff, and I think we put you through as much as your staff when they came with 16 new positions. So it wasn't any different than what we went through during the budget. So,
Yep.
A lot of questions.
Okay, if not, yeah, I'll take a motion.
Chair, I make a motion that we adopt a proposed ordinance 2025-3.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Chaburka to adopt proposed ordinance 2025-3, and this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye. All right, and that passes. So, thank you. We'll move on in our agenda with reports from Planning Commission. Welcome Barton Brierly here to address us on two proposed rezones. We'll begin with the rezone of 397, 399 North Harrisville Road.
Good evening, Chair Ritchie and City Councilors. Yes, this is a request. The MKIB Real Estate, the two representatives are here tonight for a zone change at 397, 399 Harrisville Road. This is on the corner of North Street and Harrisville Road. Here's an aerial that shows the property. It's largely vacant. There are two single-family homes on the property. And the current zoning is R2 of both properties. And they're requesting to change the zoning from, it's about 4.92 acres, from the R2 to an R2S zone. And to compare the zones, in an R2 zone, you can do single family on 6,000 square foot lots or duplexes at about 17 units per acre. The R2S would allow single family homes on 2,500 square foot lots, which is about the same densities in the R2. It would allow townhomes or duplexes at 17.4 units per acre, so a little bit higher density, but it adds that ability to do townhomes. One of the stipulations of the R2S is they must be subdivided for individual ownership. In looking at this, the Planning Commission looked at the general plan, and the council's adopted this policy, this community plan policy that you should entertain proposals for, but not promise specific zoning for higher density residential between Washington Boulevard and Wall Avenue. So this is actually an area where the plan said, maybe we'll go to R3 in this area. So why is the request for R2S instead of an R3? We did meet with a few prospective buyers of this, and then the current applicant. And we said, you know, we're doing pretty good with apartments. We're getting enough to meet our need. What we're really missing is ownership products. Very few single family, fewer townhomes, and not a whole lot of ownership opportunities. So we think that that's where our real need is. So we encourage them to apply for the R2S instead of the R3. They did, and Planning Commission recommended it, and that's why we're here tonight. One of the stipulations in the Lynn Community Plan that the council had adopted was that because of the unique history of the area, anytime there's a zone change, we should see how it affects the history. And this is near Bingham Fort. I put a little star on the map to show kind of related to Bingham Fort where the property is. So it's near, but it's not part of the fort. There's no significance that we know of the property. There are two older homes there that are nice historic homes, but they don't really qualify as related to some sort of historical significance because of their architecture, who lived there, or some events that occurred there. So one of the zone change guidelines is that zoning should reflect the prevailing character of an overall district or neighborhood. And this is an area that's in transition. So if you look at the overall character, just right across the street, you have two-story apartments. Just to the south, you have 2-story apartments. So the idea of townhomes in there would reflect the prevailing character of the area. It is an area that transitions from commercial to apartments to single-family developments. To the north, you have a lot of commercial developments. In Harrisville, you have a bank across the street, you have a church next to it, and then you transition further away to single-family. So this would meet that zone change guidelines. One of the guidelines requires that zoning boundaries not cut across individual lots or developments, and in this case, it does. They are acquiring a little piece of property from the Buddhist church, and they've submitted the application to do that lot line adjustments. I know they're begging us to get that processed as quickly as possible, so I'm not quite sure if that's been recorded quite yet or not, but it's definitely something that's close to landing. As far as the concept, the previous one, we didn't have a very good picture of the concept. This is a little bit better picture. I will say this is not what's going to get built. This is a concept, and it will change from this concept plan. So, but gives you an idea. I know one of the questions was what will happen with the Buddhist church property. Oh, try this. They anticipate extending the townhomes into that area. You'd get about 85 units if you went to the maximum on this project. Access would likely be from North Street and Harrisville Road. They have talked to UDOT. UDOT would like that access to be as far south as possible on the property. There are requirements for open space as part of the development. This is something we'll review during the development to make sure it meets our standards. There is a park about a half-mile away and some other recreational spaces. If you like disc golf, it's not that far. And so the Planning Commission has looked at this, and they're recommending that you approve the zone change with one of the conditions that that parcel boundary adjustment be completed.
All right. Any questions for Barton? Okay, no. We have the petitioner here, Brian Smith, if you'd like to come up and address us on this.
Had a little PowerPoint, but it wasn't able to be up, so apologize for that. Basically what we're looking at, I think that was a pretty good description that Barton had given. We're looking to do individually owned townhomes, and I think that's in line with what we understood as the city's goal. We want to be a good partner. We have taken all the advice. We've gone to 2 CRT meetings. At one of those, UDOT was present. We did our own meeting with UDOT. UDOT wanted to line up the road with the America First Credit Union that's across the street. One of the things that came up in the last meeting, and I asked his permission, Bryson Cutler, is that right? He was here, and he was concerned about a shared access. Bryson is not wanting to have a shared access for that entry, but that is where UDOT wants it. And so he understands that if he ever changes the use, that he would have to accept that shared access. But UDOT's okay to move forward as long as we're right at that southeast section that we own bordering the Highway 89. Another thing that came up was, as Barton said on this occasion, we're not asking for more density. We could put duplexes there, but we want to do the townhomes. And even talking with Bryson, the neighbor that had the concern, he would even prefer to have townhomes there than apartments that are owned by investors. We're hoping that the design that we have, we're trying to accommodate for all of the different factors, and so we're hoping it's close to where we're going to be. Also, just in the area where the Buddhist church is, we have closed. We're waiting for one signature from the city on a boundary lot adjustment. We're understanding we might get that tomorrow. At that point, we will own all of the property. We were hoping for that right before the meeting, but we didn't want to create an illegal subdivision or do anything that would hamper the business. Our goal is to put up townhomes, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhomes. I walked through one that we're considering doing today. We love it. It's going to fit the community. We have 2-car garage. We understand that one of the requirements will be that we provide a charger for electric vehicles, which we plan to do on the main level. And so we're trying to do everything that we can. As part of the Buddhist church, we have a pickleball court. We're looking to have a dog walk park. There's some trees that we want to save because there are some nice trees there that we're going to try to make into our dog walk park area. And so we'll have enough open space. We really like how it's come together. Originally, we had planned to have the entrance higher, but because of UDOT, we adjusted. And so we're very open to suggestions, but we're going to try to take it through as soon as we can. And if there's any questions or anything I haven't addressed, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Council, any questions? I think you answered the question I had, so.
Okay.
All right.
So Barton, do they all have to be individually plotted, is that right?
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we've elected to receive public input on this item. So if you'd like to address the council, please step to the podium and state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, Travis Pete. It was mentioned during the thing, it says that things should not cut across developments. And so if you look, it's dividing the R2s on either side of it. And so it really is cutting across the development with nothing. And it was proposed also saying this is an area of transition. And so is this the best transition versus, and is it a one size fits all cookie cutter, all 3-bedroom, all type things? And everything that's been proposed in the Lynn Community Plan, even prior to adopting the new historic preservation things, has been a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter template, margin-to-margin build out. And I don't see that reflects the neighborhood. There's nothing that transitions and says, okay, here's a 1 or 2 level, and here's a 3 level, and here's another 2 level down, tapers it as it comes back into the neighborhood. And so my concern with just blanketing R2S with no development agreement is everything that's happened even west of Wall Avenue, everything that continues to happen to the community, the Lynn Community Plan, even closer to Harrison. It's just margin to margin build out. And the open space to me should be entry, transition, those types of things, if you're going to say it's going to fit the community plan. As far as the property to the east and proposing that, saying, oh, it matches the property across the street, which is mostly apartments by the Walmart store, that was supposed to be commercial, but because apartments were allowed in commercial at that time, that was built out margin to margin. So that took our commercial. We plowed under the entire Osmond family's farm to put Lowe's in Ogden City because the commercial that was originally planned is gone. And then that also then chomped into the ATC's potential for expanding their campus should they need it, because we've now put the commercial on the other side of the street. So to me, this doesn't show, unless there's a development agreement that says, yes, we will rezone on the condition that there is transition. We have this group called Envision Utah that has done tremendous things with this, but everything approved for the Lynn Community Plan has been margin to margin, one size fits all. And that's my biggest concern, because it's the biggest part of rezoning and the zoning is that it says, is that basically that things should fit into the neighborhood and not be isolated. This is 100% isolated, just like all the previous ones. And so if there's inner working and that they did show a street connecting to the south, I think that's important. The current neighbor to the south now that said I shared access, okay, if I surrender my current one, yes, I now have to go to that road. But it's imposing on neighbors that might not be able to be here to say one size fits all, bookend to bookend, especially the division right through the middle. rezoning that whole thing. And
thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Good evening, Teresa Bramwell. The things I like about this are, I like this gentleman. He seems like a really nice guy that has come forward and said, hey, Ogden City, how can I make you better and how can I fit in with what you want? And I think in a developer, that is very important in this city, because I think developers have had their way with Ogden City for way too long. And Ogden City shows that Ogden has been put in as second-class citizens to the developers for far too long. The things I like about this are that they will be individually owned. As we learned, the properties across the street and the properties across, behind it that are apartments, those will not be individually owned. Those are owned by one, probably the developer that built them, who's going to own it for 50 years or 100 years. Those will never get sold. Those will never employ a realtor. Those will never allow equity to be earned by an individual property owner. So those are the things I like about this. It may have a few problems, but this guy sounds like he's willing to work with Ogden City if you want him to change anything. And I like that about it. I wish it were in East Central, because we could use projects like this in East Central that are owned by individual homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Let's go ahead and go online to Antonio Martinez.
Hello, my name is Antonio Martinez. I own a property north of this development on 431 North Harrisville Road. My family has been in the area for about 85 years. And I was kind of curious on I noticed that a lot of our irrigation, water, and things like that are getting cut off. And we also have a lot of problems with crime and developers are kind of harassing us, plowing down our fences and harassing my tenants at the house now. And I was just kind of curious on, if this is going to be a continuing trend where, we put up a big thing of property and we force out the people who have lived there for a long time. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Antonio. Okay.
Good evening, Council. I'm Selvoy Fillerup from Heritage Land Development, and we wanted to lend our support to the project. And we believe that it complies with and is in line with the stated goals of the city, that it is being individual ownership for the townhouses, and that if you look at the property boundaries, those property boundaries really are a little bit strange with some of the angles, and this project makes use of as much of those kind of strange parcels as it can, and we feel like it will definitely lead to some good home ownership and some ways to develop this area that are consistent with the city's stated goals. And to Teresa's point, I know this is a matter for another meeting, but we are working on some East Central individual home ownership projects. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. What was?
Selvoy Fillerup.
Okay, looks like we had a hand online or a phone. Did that go away, Brandon? Okay, so if you're on a phone call and you dialed in, it might be *6 or *9. Let's go ahead and unmute him, see if there's there. I think you have to *9 to unmute yourself, or *6. *6 to unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, it's Alicia Washington. That's Alicia Washington. That was incredibly convoluted to figure out. Alicia Washington, business owner. I live in East Central, and I'm just hearing about this project. and I've been frantically looking through the packet. And I would just love a little bit more clarification on the zoning. Is it taking away the entire Buddhist temple or just that corner of it? Just a little clarification would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, go ahead. Brian, if you want to address that.
Yeah. First off, we're not trying to do like super cookie cutter. Each of the townhomes is going to be a little bit different in size. And so we're trying to do the variation that's needed according to the zoning. As far as this question, it's just that little section. It squares off the Buddhist church. And so it's just that very southeast corner that we purchased.
So the Buddhist temple is not going away. It's just
no, that's staying, and for the most part, nobody will probably notice. It just squares it off, and the Buddhist temple is actually happy because it's less they have to maintain, and we're going to take care of some trees.
It's property they own that they've sold to you.
Yeah,
and you're including it.
It's sitting currently in escrow, and we're just waiting. We've signed all the documents, but we're just waiting for the boundary lot adjustment, one more signature from the city, and then it'll be recorded hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. And then Barton, do you want to talk about the cross-cutting? I think what the question was, the reason that you had that zone is because there were two parcels and just this very issue. Do you want to just address that really quick?
Yes, we don't want to have a parcel be in two different zones. And that's why we recommending requirement that they do that lot line adjustment so that all of their property is in one zone as opposed to being split zoned.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you could explain that better than I could have.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or discussion on the council?
Just the remaining question that Mr. Martinez
yes,
had about irrigation water. We can't stop anybody's, or development can't cut anybody off of water that they're allotted, can they?
Correct. And development needs to provide for the continuation of existing irrigation lines. And if there's anything there, they can't cut it off. They got to provide that it continues through the property.
Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, who would a person go to if they felt like they were being harassed or, like he mentioned, I don't know if it's true or not, but he was mentioning that there's been maybe some harassment. Who would a person call if they felt maybe someone was harassing them?
I would call the police. I think if he says he's in the north, he's in Harrisville, so call Harrisville police.
Okay.
Or, you're welcome to call our office, and we can have
in case there's
code enforcement talk to people too. And
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chair, I might make a mention about, and you're okay, yeah.
Okay.
But with the irrigation, it doesn't end up being a city's issue to make sure that irrigation stays in place. That is a civil issue, and so I think I would recommend that anybody that was concerned about their irrigation water, talk to the developer early and often to make sure that that's all going to be accommodated for, because the city won't get involved in duking that out. So.
Okay. Brian, do you want to just maybe talk to that issue as well?
So I think we're the end of the run on that irrigation, but if we're not, then we would pass that irrigation through and make sure. I've had other developments and we've had to do that, and so that's completely in line with what we would do. I'll just make one final point, is that we're planning on somewhere around 80, 81 units. We could put, duplexes with no zone change right now that didn't need to be individually owned. So the idea that this is drastically changing the zone in any way, I think it's only bettering the zone. And so I'm hoping that they see that I'm their friend and that they're going to get individual owners that are going to pay a good price. They're going to take care of the property. I think it's what the city has in mind.
Right. And Brian, you appreciate you're working with the surrounding neighbors. And if somebody needed to get a hold of you, is there a way to, Antonio, I know, mentioned he had some concerns. Is there a way for him to reach out to you?
Yeah. You can I had it on the slideshow so that somebody could have it, but since that didn't happen, I don't know if people can see it, but it's 703-576-4209 is my phone number, 703-576-4209. I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Do we have, we're through the public comment on this. So sorry, just.
He's the neighbor.
He's the neighbor.
I just say I'm the one getting impacted by this the most.
Yeah.
Bryson, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Well,
if I can get 30 seconds.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry. We're trying to stay with an organized meeting here. So
Personally, I've lived there my entire life. I don't want to see things change, but progress is progress. I would much rather, though, see individually owned townhomes instead of duplexes, basically on the fact that someone that's actually going to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy an actual home versus renting a home, you're actually going to get somebody that's going to be in there, take care of it. They're not going to be your everyday Joe going through an apartment. I mean, we can see what kind of trash goes through apartments all the time. Someone owns the place, usually they take care of it a lot better, and I think that's going to be a lot better look on that little part of town. So personally, I say go for it.
thank you. And can you just state your name for the recorder so we've got that?
Bryson Cutler.
Bryson Cutler. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
And I agree with Bryson. I like this zoning change, and I like the concept that we've got homes for ownership and purchase. And with that, regarding the proposed rezone at 397 through 399 North Harrisville Road, I move to pass ordinance 2025-4.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Graff and a second by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2025-4, and this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Graff?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Vice Chair White?
Aye.
Chair Ritchie?
Aye. Thank you, and that passes. Okay. Barton, welcome back. Proposed rezone at 2869 Grand Avenue.
Okay, thank you. So this is another request for a zone change. This would be a zone change from CP3 to R4 with conditional overlay at 2869 Grant Avenue. So the property is in the Jefferson Community Plan. It's 10,560 square feet, so about a quarter acre. And you can see it's highlighted on the map here. And the zoning here is sort of strange. You've got most of the area is a single family zone, but you have this part of a commercial zone that extends along both sides of Grant Avenue. Here's the property. It is vacant currently. I know one of the questions you had at the work session is where's the property line? I can't say exactly where the property line is, but the best indication is that truck is on the neighbor's property, and about everything to the south of that is this property. So that drive approach kind of straddles the property line. So that's on development. That's something that they'll have to take into account. So this is just an aerial showing the property, and it's I misstated, most of the area is zoned an R4 zone, and you have this little tentacle of CP3 extending on the west side of Grant Avenue. The proposed conditional overlay would limit development to either subdivided townhomes, condominium apartments, or a single family dwelling. In the particular, in the Jefferson Community Plan, it actually identifies this as an area of possible option to rezone to R4. So it is anticipated in that this could be zoned R4. And also note that the property to the north, which is remaining CP3, it's identified in the plan as an option to rezone to R4 also. One of the things in the Jefferson community was to explore the use of incentives to enhance and increase home ownership. So we looked at this in relation to the project and looked at this as possibly an opportunity to enhance some home ownership, and this would be an option for ownership townhomes or condominiums, and that's why we had recommended, the applicant agreed, and the Planning Commission agreed to the overlay to require them to be divided for individual ownership. Zoning should reflect the prevailing character of an overall district to the extent possible. Again, this is more in the R4 part of the Jefferson community than the commercial part, so we do feel it does meet that criterion. And to draw on types of uses, the city may choose to use multiple family or professional office zoning as a buffer to commercial, transitioning from neighborhood to commercial to apartments. And again, this would be a transition from commercial to more multifamily. And there should be a definite edge to development and buffering between types of uses. To the south is single family, to the north is a commercial building with 2 accessory apartments, and the commercial is unused at this point. So it is an area that I won't be surprised if at some point they come in and apply for a zone change on that piece of property also. So the Planning Commission is recommending approval of the rezone.
All right. Thank you. Any questions at this point? If not, we have the petitioner who's joining us via Zoom, I believe. That's Race Osler. So while Brandon, if you give him an opportunity to, there we go.
Yes, thank you. This is Ray Sossler. And I apologize. I wanted to be there in person, but I'm out of town. But yeah, I won't take much time. I think he did a great job explaining the petition. This came about because for a couple of years there, residential was allowed in the CP3 zone, just a blanket allowance. And it was concluded that that was not in the best interest of Ogden. And last year, the Planning Commission deliberated extensively on this, saying, you know what, how about let's just kind of change it to where if it makes sense to put residential in the CP3 zone, then let's just do it on an individual case-by-case basis. And where it doesn't make sense, if it's surrounded by all kinds of industrial or other things, then maybe then it wouldn't make sense. And I believe that this is a case where it would make a lot of sense, considering it is almost entirely surrounded by R4. And that is what the petition is to do, to just put it into R4, which is what surrounds it. And very similar concept to the petitioner before me. It's essentially zoned for the R4 is a zone to allow for multifamily, but I was able to, we came up with that language, developer agreement that stipulates that whatever gets built there would be individually owned. So it's about a quarter acre. I believe in the R4 zone, it would fit up to a fourplex. And so whatever gets built, it would be, instead of like one owner, one tax ID, the fourplex, it's basically stipulating that whatever gets built there, whether it's a single family or up to 4 doors, would be individually owned. So promoting the very similar concept of promoting ownership. And yeah, I think that sums it up. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thanks, Race. Hang on there while we look and see any questions. I don't know if you're the person I would ask, Race, on this, but was there any discussion with the 2 neighbors to the north just to see if, putting together a rezone for all 3 properties? I don't know if Barton, if that was explored or.
It wasn't. I did purchase this about a year ago from the owner to the north, and he was kind of considering selling that as well. But he ended up deciding to keep it and just wanted to sell this off. So yeah, I haven't discussed that with the two owners to the north.
Okay. Okay. All right. It doesn't look like any questions at this point, Race, but just hang on there and we'll maybe bring you back here. But we have elected to receive public input on this item. So if you'd like to address the council, again, please step to the podium and state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello. It's 2025. Haven't seen you guys in a while. Y'all look good, so it's a good sign. Kerry Wayne. I was concerned about the property because for the last 40 years I've been mowing the curb strip in front of it. And so it hasn't been taken care of well. It's always been an abandoned property, like I say, for 40 years. It was very diplomatic to say that the use in our area is very dicey. We have just tons of incompatible use. Within 50 yards of that particular property, there are 7 businesses. Only one of them has off-street parking. So again, we have an issue with parking along that entire block. I am deeply concerned that the petitioner is not going to be building on the property, that he's merely trying to make it more marketable. And that's a concern. I asked the planning people about the lot is only 66 feet wide. It's 160 feet deep. I says, well, what if you're going to put row houses there? Well, they have to face the road. And I says, well, that makes them 13 feet wide. I don't think that can be done. And I says, are you going to face the fourplex towards the north? Oh, we can't do that. And I said, well, okay, but that's the only logical way to put a fourplex on that lot. And again, we come back to that issue of parking. The more units we put there, the more rooms we put there, multifamily will just increase the parking issues along that block. And so what we're looking for is again, the R4 overlay, I don't think is a good idea because again, anyone who purchases that property is going to want to maximize the use of it, which is a fourplex. And I just don't think that that's a good use of the property. It's, again, we have businesses that are there. They don't have any control on their hours of business. They don't have any parking. They don't have, again, lighting is a big issue for them. None of that's controlled. And yet you're saying, okay, we want to keep this a residential neighborhood. And I would love to see it be a residential neighborhood. There's good people there. And I think that that would be the best use of that area. There was one proposal back in the early 90s where they were going to make it a 10-block red light district with 10 bars. And I says, how can you guys do that? And common sense came around and stopped that. But again, I believe that we have to look at the size of the lot, the width, because again, that's 2 car lengths. In case you want to, kind of get an idea how wide that's going to be, 2 car lengths. And so that's not going to allow enough for a fourplex. It's not going to, a duplex maybe, but again, to say, okay, you can put a fourplex on there, shouldn't be. You should cut that back and reduce the use. Okay. Again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Chair, may I ask you a question? So do you own property around there? I guess I'm confused. I thought you were married Slaterville. Oh, okay. Just clarifying.
Okay.
My name is Zena Manley. I actually own the building 2 up from this one. So we're a part of that tiny little strip of commercial. We've been there since 1969. It's Richard Sign Company. I don't have a problem with the development. I do have a concern of what happens with the tiny remaining commercial that we have on our side. So it's just kind of a question of making sure that doesn't adversely affect me and my employees and our ability to work. There is not a lot of parking. We have a small alleyway between my building and the one next door where some customers can park, but it is kind of a come as you may on the front. We do what we can to help in the community and It's a great community. It does need some improvement, right? The houses are a bit dilapidated and they're doing their best, but it's an amazing group of people that are there. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have more home ownership, but it is a tricky where there's commercial here and there and houses. So if we can keep that as a community, as long as it's not hurting everybody, it is concerning if they don't have a plan and just how do we make the most money? It is a tiny strip of land at the moment. So I have not been personally contacted. I don't know if the other commercial people have been, but that would be my only thing is being basically next door to them. There has been no communication about how that would affect us. My only concern with more homes, we try to be sensitive to our neighbors. We do weld things. We're a sign shop. So sometimes there is noise. We always try and do that within, obviously, the prescribed noise time. But that is a concern with some of our, across the street from us, our commercial, they fix cars and do other things. So sometimes there are some noise issues that might be something to consider with building that tightly next to existing commercial. But thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay. So no other comments there. We'll go ahead. So Barton, I don't know if you want to, if you can address some of those questions regarding the fourplex and the layout and how that might be a possible challenge, or.
Yeah, it is a small lot and it will be a challenge. I know that Mr. Osler has presented some possibilities there, and you'll have to meet all the standards of it. You will be required to have on-site parking with it. You are required to have a door facing the street on that. So it's a challenge to fit out, but I don't see it's unsurmountable. It's a fairly square rectangular property, and so it's not really overly unusual to try to fit a development on that size of property.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
So the conditional overlay, though, means that a person will have to bring forward whatever their design is, get it approved before anything would actually be built.
Absolutely, yes.
Just to clarify that.
Yes.
And then the remaining properties, nobody's going to be forced to rezone because this home gets zoned, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so shouldn't impact the existing businesses that are already there.
Yep, they can.
And I think I just asked the question just to see if what other properties might be looking to do if they But it sounds like if there's viable business there, that should just continue on just fine.
We love our businesses.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments or discussion by council? All right. If not, I'll take a motion on this item.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 2025-5 for the property located at 2869 Grand Avenue.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Myers and a second by Councilmember Chiburka. This is also a roll call vote.
Councilmember Graff.
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Myers.
Aye.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Councilmember Chiburka.
Aye.
Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Chair Ritchie.
Aye. Okay, and that passes. All right. And Janine, welcome up to talk to us about the proposed ordinance 2025-7, the amendments to the powers and duties of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Chair Ritchie. This is just a simple change to Ogden Municipal Code Section 2-4-5. It's in the section that just sets out the administrative powers and authorities for the CAO. As I mentioned in the work session, traditionally since 1992 when they shifted to the strong mayor or strong council mayor form of government, the mayor's office has only had 3 people. Yes, there's been 1 or 2 added here and there over the years, but it's not been consistent. It's generally been the 3. In 2016 or 17, they did add the community outreach program and administrator who does report directly to the CAO. And so this just clarifies that the CAO will in fact act essentially as the executive director for the mayor's department office, and just gives her management authority over the employees there.
All right.
There's the
Pretty
language.
straightforward. There we go. Okay. Any questions on this item? If not, we can do an emotion on this one.
Chair, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve a proposed ordinance.
2025-7.
Oh yeah, 2025-7.
Yes.
I didn't write it down. Thank
And
you.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Chaburka, a second by Councilmember Graff. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Ritchie.
Aye. All right. That passes. Okay. Thank you. All right. We've gotten to the point of the meeting I've been waiting for. Okay, so we have today we have the opportunity to elect a new council chair and a new council vice chair. And so with that, I will open up nominations for council chair.
Chair, I would love to nominate, and I'm honored to nominate Vice Chair White as the council chair.
I'll second.
All right, any other nominations? All right, Vice Chair White, would you like to make some comments? I mean,
No.
I guess you just say.
Yes, I
It's
do.
on the-
Yeah,
Councilmember.
I'm never at a loss for words, but yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate the last year that I've spent as vice chair and want to continue on, and excited to see how we can continue on. I think one of the things that the mayor said, and I really appreciate this, is trying to figure out how to still continue to be at the table and not just last minute, let's hope that they come to the table. So I appreciate the opportunity to lead the group that we have here, and so thank you for your nomination.
Great. Okay, with that, we'll take a. Do we need a motion, or are we okay to go ahead and vote on this? We got the motion to nominate. Do we need a motion to? No. Okay. Roll call. Yeah, let's go with the roll call. Thank you.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
All right.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Okay. Next, we have the open up for nominations for vice chair.
Chair, I'd like to nominate Rich Heyer as vice chair.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a nomination for Rich Heyer for vice chair. Any other nominations? Okay. Councilmember Heyer, would you like to make some comments?
Chair, I look forward to working with Chair White for the next year. We also served 100 years ago together in the same capacity. And my nature is I kind of see myself as a public servant, and this is one way to serve, and I also look forward to making sure that all of your voices are heard, and anything that you bring to the table that gets a hearing and the time it needs to develop. So I am honored. Thank you, Dave, for making that nomination. I am honored to receive it.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll take a roll call vote on this nomination.
Councilmember Chaburka,
No.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Okay, and that passes. Councilmember Chaburka, I don't know if you'd like to.
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, we'll turn the time over to Tracy to do the honors of administrating the oath of office.
Well, Tracy sets that up. Can I just express my appreciation to you, Chair Ritchie, for your service the last 2 years in leadership. I really enjoyed serving with you, and I appreciate your leadership this last year.
Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
here.
that. Thank you.
Get me out of here.
Okay, Councilmember White, Councilmember Heyer, if you both stand, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
that I will discharge the duties
that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
All right. I think I'll close this one out and then pass it off. How's that? So this is the opportunity now
If
for.
I could before.
Oh
we
yes,
move.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So as being able to serve with past Chair Ritchie, I have learned an immense amount about leadership, about patience, about communications and transparency, and I can only hope that I bring that as chair. So you would think that after this many years being here that that you know it all, but you don't, and I just really appreciated serving with you, and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, if this is the opportunity to address the council on any item, public comments, if you'd like to step to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, Teresa Bramwell again. I want to thank Chair Ritchie for his service. I was here on the day you said this is my first rodeo, and I think you rode the bucking bull well. So thank you for that. What I wanted to talk about today is the Good Landlord program in the city of Ogden, because I've had a lot of experience with it. I have owned multiple properties, some of which I rented, and so I was required to come to an 8-hour class, even though multiple times, so at least 3 or 4 times I came to this 8-hour class about being a good landlord in Ogden. And even though I have thousands of hours of education in real estate because I'm a real estate agent, I was required to take these 8-hour classes multiple times. The thing I didn't like about it was I felt like the program was taking the responsibility away from the police department and putting it on the individual landlords in the city of Ogden. Because one of the requirements was to do a criminal background check. And then if any of the persons that were applying for your rental had drug convictions, then you couldn't rent to them. So that was one of the rules, and we had to learn that, and we had to pay for the class. And the Utah Apartment Association was the one that did the class right here in this room. It was right here in this room. The room was completely full with like individual property owners that owned 1 or 2 properties in the city of Ogden. A lot of really pissed off people because they didn't want to be there, giving up 8 hours of their day. So we all had to do that. We all had to agree to be good landlords in the city of Ogden in order to get a business license to rent our home, our individual home, or things like that. So in light of that and what I know about it, what I've noticed in my neighborhood is that most of the people I see around the streets in their state of existence don't seem to be compliant with the rules that I know I had to follow as a landlord. And so I'm wondering where the disconnect is. And I think this homeless shelter that's been proposed on 23rd and Madison is flying in the face of the good landlord program that the rest of us all had to comply with. Because Andy came up here right on this microphone and said, these people have all been blacklisted from being able to rent anywhere else. So we know they have reasons why they can't live anywhere else. And yet we're going to put them right in the middle of our city. And I want to know how that is justified. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. We have a hand online. Or let's go ahead with the hand online, and then got one other here.
Hi, Heath Soto, Ogden resident. First off, I went to the Citizens Police Academy that was talked about earlier. It was incredible. I even got to be attacked by canines while wearing a bite suit. That was memorable. During work session, Chief Matthews' comments on construction security were quite valuable. I think he's a great asset to the city. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Graff for addressing the firework issue. To my main point tonight, this has been eating at me. I want to express serious concern about a pattern I've seen in recent comments from both the mayor and members of this council. In his State of the City address, Mayor Dodowski suggested that many public concerns would be best handled in private rather than public council meetings on social media or in the paper. I get the idea, but I don't like the overall sentiment. Councilmember Heyer separately suggested that hearing the same opinion multiple times from the public isn't helpful to decision making. And taken together, these statements, I think, send a message. I'm not sure it's intentional, that the public's voice is an inconvenience, that numbers don't matter, that raising concerns in public forums is somehow distasteful or destructive. I disagree strongly. I'm not alone. I've heard from other people that shared a similar concern when they heard these things, and they feel like it's pushed to quiet public discourse rather than encourage it. Public debate out in the open where our neighbors can hear us, see us, and stand beside us, whether we agree or not, is a cornerstone of American democracy. It's not merely about persuading elected officials, but it's also about showing one another that we are not alone in our concerns. Many voices saying the same thing doesn't make those voices redundant. It makes them more powerful. I genuinely believe you all care deeply about the city and its direction. But listening, really listening, even when it's uncomfortable, repetitive, takes forever, doing it in the public eye does matter. It's not our job to make government easier. It's government's job to make sure the people they serve are heard. While private conversations have their place, they cannot replace public discourse. The people of the city deserve to have their voices heard, no matter how many people want to be heard or however many times they need to be heard. We only have 3 minutes to speak. We're not paid to be here. We speak up because we care. Please honor the spirit of public comment by truly listening to the constituents, all of the constituents who take the time to show up. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Travis Pate. I just wanted to thank Chair Ritchie and Vice Chair White for the leadership that I've seen. Even to some end, when I watched the Chair Ritchie go, and I'm just like, ugh. And everybody else gets like 30 more, 20 more seconds, but mine's like boom. So I appreciate that.
Right on.
Because I like to draw, I like to go on, but I look forward to the next set of leadership, and I think that the dynamic that I've seen from Vice Chair White and other public events, and her willingness to attend those public events, as well as most of you that I have seen in public events, the kindness that you show to people that you don't even know, and whether they're a citizen or not, just is absolutely amazing to me, because it's just who you are. And I appreciate that about each of you, in any of the elected officials. And so when somebody says, hey, I'm outnumbered, I'm like, really? You got one district rep, you got 3 at large, and you got a mayor. It looks like you got a majority. And so I hope that in that sense that you really do look, those of you that serve districts, really look wholeheartedly at your constituents and reach out a little bit more. I know you do a tremendous amount, but as many comments as I've submitted and emails as I've suggested and thousands of hours preparing things, I've heard from 2 of you. And that's kind of disheartening by way of response, by way of email. Not even thanks for your comments, just nothing. And so if I'm hearing crickets and I'm as active as I can be very mindful, and I'd say even prayerful, to reach out like, oh, wait, I better answer this one. Even if it's a sea of 10,000, that you really try to be mindful of the individual and how you can sort it. I mean, they talk about how many books are added to the Library of Congress daily/weekly. Couldn't conquer it. But we have a librarian. We have friends that can narrow that down for us. And so I would simply say, if someone else has already talked to them, reach out to the person that no one's talked to. Find them, support them, lift them, because I know it's part of your integrity. It's part of who you are. And so I thank you at the times, especially the trials of the last several months with my family, and the kindness is shown. And the kindness shown today for someone that lived and survived is awesome. So, and the last part would be simply, if public hearings are allowed and there's been a work session, include that date and time of the work session that's prior to the public hearing, so that we can be shared as informed as you are, instead of showing up blindly and going, whoa, and you guys are like, well, we already know about this. Well, we didn't get the notice to the public hearing, this work session prior to it. And that includes planning commission, landmarks, anything that we have where there's a work session. Please invite us to be a part of that prior to the public hearing. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis. All right, any other comments? Got another one here.
Scott Jensen. I'm here tonight just with some concerns to the location I'm at, other property owners, other business owners around us on 18th Street. We keep seeing these apartments going up, and when I've talked to other business owners, they're like, all these apartments are taking up all the commercial locations, and they're kind of wondering where are they supposed to go, especially when they're kind of being built around, and then over time they kind of feel like they're getting forced out of their locations. Just even one of my concerns, I'm having a developer actually build 4 stories tall right next to me, and it's like 8 to 10 feet off of my structures. And part of the concerns, even with the neighbors, the devastating fire that happened not too long ago, is kind of how can we protect ourselves? Who's going to protect us? You know, it's just a concern, and me and some others, I just wanted to bring that forth so you guys know. Back to the commercial locations is, where are we supposed to go if we want to expand, or if we want to move, or be more in the proper places for future growth? I don't know if any of you have actually looked. There is hardly anything for sale on commercial. If there is, it's overpriced. So that's kind of a concern. Like I said, I've talked to other business owners around me, and some of them have stated this is kind of their livelihood and their investment into their retirement. And kind of with the amount of building that's going on, some of them have kind of used the words of being stabbed in the back, kind of harsh. But I know some of them are just kind of fed up to the point they won't come and even voice, which is kind of concerning. You know, they should be encouraged to come speak. So that's just kind of some of our concerns with our location that's going on right now. And even a statement, I was here at a planning commission meeting, and even a couple of them have stated of how are we filling all these apartments that are coming up, because they made comments of like they're starting to cut prices of just to try and allure people. So are we overbuilding? And should we be going back to single-family homes? Because that's what really it's about. It's about kind of growing and living in your area. So that's all I have for the moment. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, I think that's it. No, it doesn't look like there's anyone else there. Thanks for sharing the concerns. I don't know if any council members would like to address anything that was shared.
Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to address Teresa a little bit with respect to the Good Landlord Program, and I'm not sure if you told the whole story. Well, I think I understood why you told the story. But, the Good Landlord Program has changed quite a bit. I have been exposed to it very recently, within the last 2 weeks. It's not 8 hours anymore, so, and it can be done online and be kind of you can do it as you can. You know, if you can do 10 minutes now and 30 minutes later, you can put it together like that. I also don't believe that there is any requirement that you don't rent to felons anymore. I think that has changed. Is that true, Gary?
There has been some changes. There are still some restrictions on who you'd rent to if you want the discount for the business license.
Right. And that was what I was going to put. The Good Landlord Program, I thought was just loaded with great information for a landlord to make sure that the rights of the people that get the renters, that they have, you know, you're fully aware of their rights so that you don't violate those and get yourself in trouble in the process. And but you also get the discount on the business license, and that's kind of, I think, the big plus for landlords is to get the knowledge and get the discount. And I think that does make a neighborhood better. I don't disagree that this housing project maybe isn't following those same tenets very well. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to mention to Travis, when there is a public hearing and you see that in the agenda, if you click on the hyperlink on that item, it'll bring up the packet information or the PDF it'll link to. It'll have all the information from any meetings prior to that, including the Planning Commission if there's a Planning Commission discussion. So the dates and an executive summary that the staff puts together that's quite helpful. So I know sometimes maybe it's not as intuitive or it doesn't like jump off the page as easily, but if you click on those links, and we can talk more after on that, just there's a lot of helpful information to get more background so you don't come to the meeting not seeing everything that's been discussed on an item. And then as far as the 18th Street location, and you know, the council did pass an ordinance to eliminate construction of multifamily housing in commercial zones, and so that did take place last year. And so we recognize that those commercial spaces are important and we need to protect them. And then if you didn't get a chance to hear the work session, the discussion about new construction and just the vulnerability and the challenges that it presents when you're building a building, Chief Matthew did a great job of talking about that, and then proactively looking at ways to mitigate some of those risks. And so I think we're trying to do everything we can in that space, right? So yeah, I think that's. I don't know if any other.
So just for the gentleman on 18th Street, you've been here all evening and you heard us approve a zone change from a commercial zone to a residential zone tonight. And when we changed the overall ordinance about what's allowed in a commercial zone, and specifically that was no more multifamily housing, we also recognized that there were odd shapes in the C zones, the commercial zones, that would probably have some property owners come back to us and ask to more accurately zone that based on their location. And you saw that tonight on Grant Street, where we just had that one lot that really didn't make sense to continue to have it zoned commercial, and we moved it to a residential zoning. So you'll see some odds and ends change, but in general, there won't be any more multifamily homes in a commercial zone.
Okay, comments from Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, want to congratulate Council Member Chair White, Vice Chair Heyer. I don't think people recognize how much work it is to be in leadership. Having been through 4 years of being in leadership on the council, it is a ton of work. So thanks for your willingness to step up. Look forward to working with you. Thank you to Chair Heyer, soon to be past Chair Heyer. Richie, sorry. Actually, I had that.
Oh, he's a Rich.
I know. I had that same problem when I was on the council. You might remember that, actually. Yeah. No, and I'll just, if you don't mind, just call you Ken, because you've been
That's fine.
such a good man in your leadership. I echo what Councilmember White said. Your integrity and your collaboration and your willingness to listen, but to represent the council has been second to none. I can't compliment you enough in your leadership and how much I appreciate working with you, and look forward to doing the same with you guys. I know we're going to figure everything out, because we just always do. To get to the comments, the good landlord program, I'll just tag on to what Councilmember Heyer said. It is voluntary, and it does come with a reduction in your business license. But I also agree with the comments you made about the proposal that's in that area. To me, is it does. I think the words you used were flies in the face of the intent of that program. I think it flies in the face of the intent of the housing policy that we have in that area as well. So it's been a real struggle. To Heath's comments, I don't know what I said in my State of the City that would allude to me not wanting to hear from the public. If that's what I said, scratch it. But all I can say is, and Heath, you and I have talked. I called you on the phone after a council meeting because I made a comment in one of the meetings where I was talking about how, in fact, with the housing project that Teresa brought up, that there was a time where we were not working effectively with the housing authority and that we had to do a grandma request to get information. And that's no way to work amongst partners. And before I got home, there was a long email to all of us about how I don't value the tool of grandma, Government Records Access and Management Act, for the public, which couldn't be further from the truth. So I called Heath to explain my real intent. But when I got home, I pulled up my comments also, and I couldn't see where the miscommunication took place, because to me it sounded really clear. So I asked my wife, I'm like, listen to my comment, and then I showed the email and said, what am I missing? And it just, to me, that's not a way of pointing out who's right and who's wrong. It's just I think it's symptomatic of the challenge with communicating when it's just this really sterile back and forth. And I think our conversation on the phone helped clarify. And I think that's the strength that I'm looking for, not to hush anybody's voice or to take away the power or the venue or the opportunity from the public at all. But I do recognize that better communication does happen when you talk, not necessarily talk at each other, but talk to each other and with each other. And so that's what I like. I've been here for 9+ years straight on Tuesdays, listening to the public. That won't change. So I just wanted to clarify, I don't know what I said, but it wasn't my intent as to how it was received. And I'd be happy to talk to Heath more to clarify that, but I will never take away the public's ability to speak. I also believe that, I'm not a big activist myself, but I think activism has a role. I think some of the biggest gains in the history of our nation have been done on the backs of activism. I get its importance and how it does play a role and can move issues forward. And again, that is a constitutional right, one that I would do anything to protect. And so would our police department, actually. So anyway, I'm happy to talk to Heath more on a personal level, not because I'm trying to be private and not transparent, but because I want to be effective in our dialogue. I gotta put on my glasses for this. Oh, I wrote down mindful and prayerful after Travis said that. So I always tried really hard to respond to all the emails and calls I got when I was a council member. It was really hard because you're a team of one, in that role. But now as the mayor, there's just me and all the city, and I get an enormous volume of inquiries every day. And we have a rule in our office. You don't write it down anywhere. It's just it's a goal that we try to achieve. And we just unveiled how on our second floor for all of our building services and inspections, et cetera, that we have a 24-hour callback rule. In my office, we call it a sundown rule, that we try to get back to everybody. Even if we don't have an answer, we try to get back to them before the sun goes down, meaning close a business before we go home. We try to at least say, hey, I got your message. Just want you to let you know that I didn't get it in time to work on a solution, but we'll be in touch. And we're really mindful if we say, we'll be in touch before the close of business tomorrow, that we are absolutely going to try be in touch with them before close of business tomorrow, even if it's not fully resolved. And so it's important to me that people know that we got their message and that they hear back from us. Sometimes they hear back from me directly. Sometimes they hear back from my staff after talking to me about it. And then they can say, I've talked to the mayor. He's aware of your situation. We'll be back in touch again. So I just wanted to pass that along because I do think it's important. There's no requirement to do that. I just think it's the right thing to do. And so we do our best. I won't claim perfection, that's for sure. Sometimes things slip through, but we try really hard to do that. To Mr. Jensen, you're right. I think these guys touched on it, but when I took office, there was, it was somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 entitled apartment units that were approved and can move through. Some of those are still moving through. And so last year, early in my tenure, we did propose an ordinance that would gain some control over the development pattern that we were seeing, especially around apartments. There were some forces in the market. We're not the only city that dealt with it. I talk to mayors about this all the time. There were some market forces that really kind of came together to make a certain type of product, apartment with the LIHTC credit, et cetera, really the main thing that moved. And it happened everywhere. And for us, we were kind of caught without an updated plan for our land use. And so right now we're going through the general plan process, which is a really lengthy process. But I recognized that we weren't going to be able to get through that planning process without having more of the same coming. And so we felt like we were losing commercial opportunity and we were going to lose prime commercial properties to a development pattern that wasn't advantageous to this community. And so we put that ordinance in before the council and they approved it with the understanding, like Councilmember Graff mentioned, that there are some small nooks and crannies that just don't really fit with the big commercial pieces that we are looking to protect. But that's an important point, getting back to the two projects that you guys considered tonight and approved. You can turn on the TV just about any night, especially during the legislative session. You'll hear people talking about housing. Ogden City is in a completely different situation than most cities as a legacy city that's largely built out with only about 7% of our land available for development. And so meanwhile, other cities and communities across the state are developing and converting farmland, vast acreages, thousands of acres, into tracts of homes. And we can't do that here. The only available property we have are these commercial pieces and flag lots and small disjunct, weird shaped properties that are a result of the way our city was laid out a long time ago. And so we are really looking for tools to take advantage of those small little flag lot property opportunities, but making sure also that there's ownership product, not just rental. And so we look at the full, we talk about the spectrum of affordability and the range of types of housing. If you look at a typical, and I know that there's exceptions to everything, but there's a certain type of housing that you need during a certain time in your life. And I've lived in almost all of them. I've lived in a dorm. I even lived in the basement of a church. That's how I met Travis. But I've rented, I've lived in apartments, lived in a condominium. We lived in single family home. My wife and I bought a first home and we're in a second home now. And then we're going to be in a retirement home and probably into some senior housing. There's a whole cycle for everybody. And we are looking at the full balanced picture of housing types around that whole cycle and recognizing where we are short and where we are bloated, I guess, have too many. And we are way over on the number of units in our community. We're 40% on average across the whole city is in rental. And we have some areas of our city that are much higher than that. And that's very destabilizing. And we want to have that whole mix of housing types, right? But how do you do that when you don't have any property available? And so we're gaining some control over the apartments. More are coming because they were already approved before I got here. They're coming. But they take time, and those are legal rights that can't be undone. But as we consider more, if we consider more multifamily, there is a place for those too, and it's supposed to be in the downtown. The legislature is even considering some options on how to make those multifamily products ownership type as well. So a condominiumized ownership property within the multifamily footprint, so that we can create opportunities for equity and ownership and hopefully long-term wealth. But again, in the downtown where density is supposed to be focused. Then in the outlying areas, what we're hearing from the public is they want to have a really vibrant downtown core, but they also want to have distinct neighborhoods with really small commercial nodes that they can visit by walking or by bike and see their neighbors, etc. And so that's kind of the reflection of what our development will be in the future through the general plan. But you're watching us trying to get a hold of it all. And this is us in real time growing through it. You know what I mean? And so I actually really appreciate and agree with the things that you're saying. And we're taking steps to get ahead of every one of them. In some cases, it's maybe years too long, but it is what it is. You know, we are doing everything we can with what we got. But the goal is to balance out ownership versus rental throughout the whole city, especially in certain areas that are really, really heavily overwhelmed by instability. So that's the goal generally or broadly. And we're working with the legislature to allow tools that would enable us to do that here, because most of the laws and most of the opportunities are geared toward those communities that have all that space, you know what I mean, to build out. So it's a long way of saying we're doing everything we can, and that I agree with you. So
May I piggyback? I don't know if you're done though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to talk about I was so honored to meet with Mr. Jensen and his family and talk about some of the issues they're facing and some of the other business owners. So his property is a little bit different in that it's actually at the corner of 18th and Grant. So Lotus is building right next to him. So the city actually has land banked all around his property. And so there will be a mix of housing around him. But I think, I sent a message to our staff to help look into what some of those impacts are, some of the concerns that they have as far as kind of being that kind of business, but then having the residences so close around them. Similar issues to what the other business person was talking about is that sometimes there will be sounds, or there might be some smells, or there's going to be some activity happening there that's just part of their normal business operations. But then having apartments 4 stories above looking down, they're just concerned, will they get calls, of maybe they're disrupting the neighbors, et cetera. So I think that's a little bit of a different situation for them, is that they've been kind of part of the process of us land banking around there and having conversations with the city about it. But I think the concerns are just getting a little bit more amplified as the building is actually happening.
All right. Okay, I just wanted to real quick from council comments just say thank you again for the opportunity to serve as the chair and work with each council member really. And pardon me if I break any kind of norms or anything, but working with Angela was awesome. I think she set an amazingly high bar, and it was good to get to know her as somebody on the council I probably knew the least when I got the opportunity to serve as the vice chair with her, and just really appreciative of each council members and their thoughts and just their deliberative approach to this role, and really felt like we became more than just colleagues, but really just good friends as well. And then Marcia is just so smart, and I think she's exactly the right person to be in this role right now. as we continue to move forward. She's got a lot of great ideas and experience and knowledge, and just really is, just again, I say the right person to be here to work with the mayor moving forward as he rolls out his vision. And then, of course, to the staff, Janine, Glenn, Steve, Brandon, Eric. I mean, as we meet each week on our leadership meetings, I mean, it's just, I've got when I first started on the council, I met individually just to try and get my feet under me a little bit. And so I just, this might be the first year where I don't have a weekly meeting with Janine and Glenn. We have amazing people that work for the city and just really do such a good job and help keep me straight on a lot of things. So, and then Mayor Nadolski, just working with you in your new role, going from the council to the mayor, it's just, this last year was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of challenge too. We had a lot of hard things, and we'll still continue to have hard things to deal with. But I really do like has been said. I think people's hearts are in the right place, and sometimes we get hung up on communication because things aren't shared. Whether it's with the public or maybe there's a misunderstanding, but it always kind of comes back to that communication. If we're really truly talking and engaging with one another, then we can probably overcome those differences that we have. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you again. And any other comments, or not, I take a motion to... I have one really quick comment. I apologize. Okay, yeah.
I'm making too many comments, but I just wanted to thank the administration and the team. I went to the second open house for the 24th Street planning for the interchange, and I just thought it was really well attended. This time it was at the Catholic Community Services. The first time it was here, and residents were really engaged, and I thought that the team just did a really great job taking the feedback from the community, putting it into some scenarios, trying to explain the process, which is always so confusing to everyone, but I just really appreciate that effort and appreciate them really engaging with the community that way, so thank you.
All right. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Chair White and a second by Councilmember Graff to adjourn. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.